Dear William, sorry I have to leave you this letter on your desk, but I've been recalled to Scotland to try out some new equipment. Apparently you have a knack for barking up the right trees. I got a lot of communications and memos from some of my friends inside of General Army Headquarters, and apparently it's been a firestorm. And I've heard rumours it's the same thing over there at the Admiralty. Apparently, the Defence Minister, to what I know, got chewed out by the king after we were dismissed. Apparently, it lasted for several hours as the king berated him about why the Ministry of Defence was sabotaging itself over and over again for nothing more than inter-service politics. Which I must say is probably the funniest thing you've done in your life, because I know how much you hate getting involved in the political machinations of the inter-service rivalry. And yet, here you are, saying, I've got the easy way to solve this. I'll just go to the king, and then he can handle it. Well, I must say it worked. You're a madman, William. But I also got word that you were promoted as well, and I wanted to congratulate you on that. Admiral William Smith Langston. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Smith. That's how I used to tease you. You never did tell me your middle name, but I think I finally figured it out. I think your middle name is Samuel, and I just can't prove it. I could be wrong, but I do think your middle name is Samuel. I just can't prove it. But nonetheless, we now have an admiral in our family. How glorious. We're not just going to be lords eventually, both of us. We're going to have a Lord Admiral. Well, not a Lord Admiral, an Admiral Lord, or whatever the... I don't know. You're a Navy man, you tell me how it works. Now, something I wanted to talk to you about last night, but I didn't get a chance to before I had to take the morning train, as I'm writing this out at 2 o'clock in the morning. I read your notes that you handed to me, asked me to borrow, about those new cruisers, and I think you have a point. We're lacking them. We lost a heavy cruiser to a submarine, and I think we need to nip that in the bud. And I give you two solutions, now that you're basically going to be in charge of all of the Admiralty's designs. More depth charges, and better what do you call them? Hydrophone stations? You got to find a better name for that. Take the best hydrophone stations you can put, and give them to every cruiser and destroyer in the fleet. Equip some of the heavy cruisers with depth charges, so that way, if let's say the Avenger class is escorting a bunch of transports, or escorting a battle fleet, and one of the light cruisers or destroyers picks up a sub, they can just go ahead and handle it, if it's right next to them. Another thing I suggest is getting with our friends in aviation. See if maybe they can develop something where we can airdrop depth charges. This way, if we're near coastal installations, we can have planes fly up and drop depth charges in the general area in case they get spotted. If you want my recommendation, I suggest float planes. Apparently there's quite a few good transport ones that could theoretically carry the depth charges. You'd have to modify them a bit, but I think you could do it. You'd figure that out. As for your suggestions on what to do about the naval transports, I'm not sure I have an answer for you, frankly. We need dedicated landing ships, right? Ships that can have a shallow draft and get us as close to the beach as possible, while remaining small enough to at least be able to carry I don't know, say 20 men. If you can find something that works, that'd be nice, because basically, the only solution I have is taking all the torpedo boats in the Navy and making them effectively glorified barges and just having them basically beach themselves when they're trying to land transports. Another thing, if you could look at it, well, I know this is technically outside of your sphere of expertise, but if you could just look at it for me, can you please tell the Navy to stop? What's the right term here? Um, Tell the Navy map people, cartographers, to stop telling us how we should approach a beach. Because that led to some problems recently in a training exercise, and I had 14 men get wounded because they told us we should go land at this other area because it's better, even though I knew it was worse. And I told them so, and they said, nonsense, watch this, and then proceeded to ram us into a sandbank and injured multiple men who were carrying an entire machine gun during a practice landing near the Isle of Skye. So if you could just tell them that maybe they should redo their charts and listen to the guys who are experts for all intents and purposes in marine landings, that would be very helpful. Especially that you got a little bit more weight to throw around. Another thing, just my opinion. You asked me the other night, after we got done with that meeting at Windsor Castle, what I thought about a new battleship design. Personally, I think we need more battleships. The question is how you want to design them. You want my opinion, you should design a bunch more like the King George. Right? That's an excellent ship right there. I think it's gonna do very well. The issue is what you're trying to design them for. What are you trying to counter? Because you can have all these grand ideas, but what are you trying to counter? The Italians didn't exactly have the most modern battleships, and I saw those photographs you sent me of the whatever class that was with that weird what do you call them, barbettes, where it blocks the forward firing of the B turret. I don't understand that, and I sat down with some of my Navy friends and I asked them to explain to me what in your right mind would tell you to design something like this, and they just couldn't figure it out. Those aren't exactly the most modern ships. What happens? Well, if we end up at war with France or Germany, hmm? They've got modern warships. And right now, the battle fleet is small. The Royal Navy should be much bigger. Parliament's right. Churchill, as much as I disagree with the man on many things about how I should go about conducting my marine landings, is right. The British Navy needs to be bigger. We've got too many colonies we need to hold on to, and there's only so many cutters we can build. Now, you could go design a new torpedo boat-esque class, call it a little sloop, push them all over the world, and just have them act as essentially escort ships. But I think that's the wrong approach. You need more destroyers, my opinion. Well, my opinion. More destroyers, more cruisers, better cruisers, and battleships able to take on something with, say, 16-inch guns. Because if you don't, we could have problems. I was reading a book, actually, that you loaned me, about how the United States Navy, during the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, were able to beat these larger British ships. It wasn't all just down to tactics. It was down to they couldn't maneuver. And I was thinking to myself, why does that matter now? You got a bunch of big, slow battleships. They can take the hits, but imagine, if you will, a battle between, we'll make up two ships. We'll call it HMS Royal and USS Republic. Alright? And Royal is a 120-gun warship. Alright? Age of sail. 120-gun warship. And Republic is a frigate. Maybe 40 guns at best. What happens to a ship of frigate size if it gets hit by 60 cannons all at once of larger caliber? Doesn't tend to fend that well. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that those Italian guns, despite being worse, were able to do a lot of damage to our battleships. And I don't know the solution. The obvious solution, if we were to go off of the late Admiral Fisher's plans, would be for an 18-inch gun battlecruiser that effectively was just a glass cannon, so to say. It looks nice, it can do damage, but you hit it with anything more than a light flick of the finger, and it'll fall apart. And that was the problem with a lot of those Italian ships you came up across, because you told me about them. You captured one of them, and you looked at the armor belt. It was so thin. It'd be like those new tanks that we're getting here in the army, and you just basically put a sheet of paper and call it armor. It's not worth it. So here's my suggestion. Go to the Naval Design Bureau, and before you make any further designs, you tell everyone to gather in a room, find your best intelligence officers, and ask who poses the biggest threat. Then go from there. You want ships of better quality than the Americans, that are capable of taking on their American counterparts one-to-one. You want ships that you don't have to worry about getting smacked with a 15.6-inch shell and catching on fire in multiple compartments, if at all possible. You want ships capable of matching pound for pound punches with anything it comes across, including destroyers. Alright? Your destroyers should be able to take on other destroyers. Your cruisers should be able to take on other cruisers without problem. Those 8-inch guns might need to go by the wayside. I'm gonna be real with you. You need something more substantial. The Waterloo class should be fine for now, but I really do think you should build a dedicated line of small battle. Remember that exemplar class you designed that's just been sitting in the Baltic? Okay, make like 70 more of those, but make those heavy cruisers. Just do that. Give them 10-inch guns, 10-inch quads, actually. Give them 10-inch quads, and just see anything that moves with an enemy flag gets hit. You might actually do well. But then again, what do I know? Just an army man from the Highlands who thinks that he's got the right to talk to his cousin who's an admiral. But I'll stop with the jesting and let you get back to work. I'll call once I get back to Edinburgh and before I leave on the training mission, and you can give me your thoughts. Sincerely, Angus.